The following podcast contains spoilers, adult language, possible disgusting sound effects, and I think we can say I am officially done with...
Window. You done?
Thanks.
Least I can do, considering.
Considering what?
Well, that's not important right now, Miss Lucy. Let's get this podcast started.
This is a message from the Office of Emergency Preparedness. Due to the recent crisis, we ask that you remain in your homes. Do not attempt to communicate or interact with the creatures, even if they are people you know.
Lock your doors. Bar your windows. Evil is coming. It's time for Aim for the Head, a horror apocalypse entertainment podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Diana and Steve.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Aim for the Head podcast. I'm Diana.
And I'm the ghoul now. Yay!
And here we are again. We're back to discuss Season 2 of Fallout. Title of this week's episode is The Wrangler. And no, folks, we're not talking about blue jeans here. It's actually...
Talking about a steakhouse.
Yeah. Is it a steakhouse? Bar? I didn't see the full sign. It just was said The Wrangler.
No. I mean, it's like a casino bar there. But in real life, there used to be a steakhouse called the Wrangler. So at least around in these parts. So maybe not out east where y'all from, but yeah.
Yeah, now you're the ghoul. Now you're the ghoul. It's official. Okay. So before we get into our individual top moments of the episode, we usually like to talk real quick about like how we felt, like first like impressions of the episode really quick. I went first for last week's episode, so Steve, it's your turn. Just quick thoughts on episode 5.
Okay, well, yeah, it again another good episode. This was I was a little relieved that this one was a little back to like normal, like an hour in length. The last couple were both under 50 minutes, and I was just like, it's like, and I'm like, come on, guys, we got to stretch it out a little, you know. And this one was like more like around like 58 or 57. I can't remember. After you get done with the previously segment, there was like 56 minutes or something, of content. So I was relieved about that. And I think this one, so much good stuff, with Coop, both present and past, but more importantly with Robert House. And I like the developments there that they did with him, answering the big burning question of how can no one know what he looks like, and how is he able to walk around, and I thought that was pretty cool that they finally gave us the answer to that. And just learning just a little bit more about him and what he's all about, and at least the idea that he might not be the big bad guy, after all, right? And that he might, it was interesting that we knew so little about him, but the scenes that we'd seen him in certainly suggested that he was the monster at the end of the book. He was the guy who didn't care about no problem having people's heads blow up and not blinking.
Right.
And the scene in the bathroom at the American Legion was very menacing and threatening, although Coop didn't really know it because Coop didn't know who he was.
Right.
But the audience were like,
yeah.
And then to hear him in Vegas there when he's talking to Coop, and you get the idea that he's clearly a little nutty, but he doesn't want to destroy the world, at least if we're taking him on what he said at face value, right? Assuming that wasn't an act, that wasn't something just to try and convince Coop to not think he's the bad guy. He came across a little bit where you're like, the guy, his methods are certainly a little questionable, but he's not. I mean, there have been people in this show that are way worse than this guy. Yeah. So I thought that was really interesting as well. And the flashback sequence in Vegas was my favorite part of the episode. Although there was certainly some very funny post-apocalyptic scenes in this
Yeah,
episode too.
yeah.
So overall, I thought it was great. I thought they did a good job of pushing the plot forward, and getting us going. Which I again a little worried about, because the last couple of episodes, you're kind of like, come on guys, we're like right outside Vegas, just get on in there. Just walk right in there, let's go. And now we're in there and things are starting to happen. And so yeah, overall, I thought this one was really a lot of fun. What'd you think?
I really liked it. I would say that if it's not my favorite of the season so far, it's probably tied for my favorite of the season so far. And a lot of that is, like you said, we did get a lot of plot movement and a lot of backstory, but not in like a like a storyline dump sort of way. It was all weaved together so well. It was edited together so well. And there were, we didn't concentrate. Yes, I would say it was a Coop heavy episode from both, flashback and current day. But I would say like all of the little supportive scenes, the Norm stuff, the the Hank stuff, the little sprinkles here and there, and the salesman guy and whatever, all those little moments, and even some of the small little moments with Lucy, they were important. They pushed things forward, but in such an entertaining way. They were all so entertaining in their totally different ways. And I laughed. I was nervous for the characters. I was, there was a couple more like menacing moments. Some like, oh my gods, I can't believe this. And it really ended in a way that made me like, again, like last week, I'm just dying for the next episode to drop, which is fantastic. It's great to have that kind of feeling about a show, to be able to, be looking forward to what's the next thing. And sometimes when we're covering episodic things, it's like, these episodes have been great so far, but this week it disappointed me a little, and maybe it takes out a little bit of your excitement about the show, but that really hasn't happened with this. It's been each week, I feel like it's, I'm looking forward to the new episode even more. It's helpful that there isn't a lot of other television going on right now. There's not a lot of other episodic things that are dropping like kind of once a week. So it's nice to have like something there to really look forward to. And it's an honest looking forward to. I'm truly looking forward to the new episodes every week. And this was like I've already said, and like you said too, just a really great episode all around, and covered a bunch of different plot points. No Maximus, but I would assume he's doing some traveling.
He's on the way to Vegas, and we also got no Betty and Steph and Chad and or whatever his name is, all Chad.
No inside the vault.
In the
people.
vault.
Yeah. But the scenes for next week looks like we're gonna be hitting on a lot of different stories and plot points. And I agree with you. We have been sort of like, kissing right up against the edge of Las Vegas for a few episodes now, and it's like, when are we just going to enter? So it was nice to actually have some movement in that storyline that involved like the end of the episode, Hank and Lucy are literally in the same room. So it's, we're finally there. And I was really worried with the way the pacing had been going. I have been loving the episodes, but with the pacing, I was worried that we would still be at that point. They'd run into another obstacle, and there'd be another thing and another thing and another thing, and it wouldn't be a moment between Lucy and Hank until the finale episode. And I hate when shows do that kind of stuff. So I'm very glad that we finally had a moment with Lucy and Hank. And yes, it was at the end, but it makes you die for wanting an episode for next week. So we still have 3 more to go. I just thought it was great all around. Lots of fun, lots of excitement, lots of stuff,
vomit.
Lots of vomit, dude, lots of vomit. It was nice to have I know some of the songs when they come up, but it was nice during the salesman. Every word of that song me and all you other musical theater geeks, man, did we just sing right along with that. It was a lot of fun. And I just giggled the whole time.
Well, for me, when we got the flashback shot when he first arrives in Vegas, and you have Tony Bennett singing "Rags to Riches," all I could picture was Coop going with a voiceover going, "My whole life, all I ever wanted to be was a ghoul," which just riffing on Goodfellas, right? With Ray Liotta's like, "My whole life, I always wanted to be a gangster," right? With that song playing, so yeah, it's just like, oh, that was awesome.
Yeah, I was just like, I was in luck be a lady heaven. It was great. Oh
yeah.
And, all right. So before we talk our individual points of the episodes, folks that have listened to us before, you know the drill. If you're new to us, we usually first give you a reminder of the episode description. Make sure to leave a lot of time in your schedule for the episode description this week. It is mighty. And then we talk a little bit about the writer and director. Then we get into our plot points we want to talk about. So, Steve, I leave it to you. And I know you said that you had like a hot beverage because it's so cold in Chicago right now. But hopefully it is a very quenching beverage, because you're going to be talking so much about this episode description. I really don't know where you're going to find the strength.
Well, the good news is next to my hot beverage, I do have a lozenge. so I will be able to pop that bad boy, and everything will be great. Yeah, when I looked at the sheet and I saw what the episode description was, I was like, she's kidding, right?
Nope. And then you researched it and realized, nope.
I did. I had to look like that can't be. And I went over to IMDb and I'm like,
nope.
Well, what do you know? That is the episode description. So, all right. So, yes. Again, we are discussing the Amazon Prime show Fallout. This is season 2, episode 5, entitled "The Wrangler." Yes, it's a show all about my car, and my old car, I should say. And the episode description that we have is as follows: Big whoop. There you go. That's it,
folks.
People.
That's all we have time for this week. Obviously, we've used up all of our recording space.
Right, just for that. We had to buy an extra terabyte of data just to hold that. Yeah, that's it.
That's all we got.
Wow, I don't know what to say about the Amazon folks or the IMDb folks for what they're putting out this year, because these descriptions are certainly not giving you much of a description of anything that's going on in the episode. So, but that's what we get. So there you go. But moving on to our writer and our director, we have a new writer, but we have a familiar director. So how about that?
Nice.
It's kind of an interesting change. If you remember the last couple, we had new, both people new. This time we have one new, one old. And the repeat is our director, and that's a gal named Liz Friedlander. Okay. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because she also directed episode 3, The Profligate.
Oh.
So she did these 2 episodes, and like I said back when she did that one a couple of episodes back, she has worked on a ton of shows. I think she has over 80 directing credits, that go back into the early aughts. Mm-hmm. And she's worked on shows like The Lincoln Lawyer and the Nathan Fillion show The Rookie, American Horror Stories, The Equalizer. She's directed several episodes of The Boys. And the Marvel series Jessica Jones were just some of the ones that I picked out. But I mean, if you just look at her list, I mean, she's just a working director, because she's been on, I mean, just so much television in the past 20 years or so. So and just like in The Profligate, I think she did a really good job. So again, it was nice to have her back. And then our writer is the new person for this time around, and that's a gentleman named Owen Ellickson. Mm-hmm. And he is a co-executive producer of Fallout, much like most of the writers so far this season. Mostly, yeah. They clearly have a group that are working on making the show, and seemingly they all like get, and you can write this episode, and then you can write the next one, and then you write the one, and it seems what they're doing,
Yes.
right? He has a bunch of working credits. He's produced stuff as well as written stuff. The big thing I noticed was that he was a co-executive producer on the show Superstore, which is an NBC comedy. And what's interesting about that is the actor who plays Thaddeus, which is a guy named Johnny Pemberton, he was on Superstore. That's where I had seen him before.
Oh.
So this is the connective tissue as to how he got from Superstore to Fallout, is that this guy, I'm guessing, worked with him on Superstore and knew how great he was.
Right.
And funny, and when Owen Ellickson signed on to work on Fallout, and they were going through the who's gonna play who, he went, hey, I know somebody who'd be awesome. It's Thaddeus.
Perfect.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. But he also has written a lot of comedies for him. So I think a lot of the comic bite that we see in this series, I'm guessing, is influenced by him, because he has written episodes for there's a show that's on right now called St. Denis Medical, which is sort of like the Office type format, but in a hospital. It's a very funny show. He has obviously wrote a lot of episodes of Superstore when he was running that show, and he even wrote episodes of The Office back in the day. So I think, again, a lot of the comic bent, I think he is certainly one of the main, you would think, the main suspects for where that's coming from, just based on his background. So, but that is your writer and your director.
Excellent. So just wanted to let longtime listeners know that we're going to try something a little different this week. We've tried this a couple of times in the past, and we're going to kind of move to it again as sort of an experiment. I've noticed that when we get talking about episodes, I don't know if you've noticed, but we can get a little long in the tooth. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and limit ourselves and stick to just our top 5 moments of the episode, so that we can just make sure, when we were talking about this before we started recording, and I said that one of the things that I like about it is that it kind of forces me to really whittle down my list to the absolute top things. Like, gun to my head, if I had to talk about the show, what are the, top 5 things that I think were important to me about the episode. So that's what we're going to do. We'll just sort of, ping pong back and forth between our number 1, number 2, number 3, not in any particular order, just our top moments of the episode. And of course, we left a little space for some notes, some honorable mentions, maybe a quote or something that, didn't sum up the whole show, but man, you just thought it was great and you wanted to mention it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to try that out for a few episodes and see if that keeps us closer to that 2-hour mark, folks. Maybe underneath it. Wouldn't that be crazy? But we don't want to try too hard, but we definitely want to try and rein it in a little bit. So hopefully this format works out for you. So let's get started. So I'll go first because this all was my idea anyway, so I guess I should see if it'll fall on my face or not. But my first moment I want to talk about, and like I said, these aren't in any particular order of importance, but my number 1 is I wanted to make sure that we discuss it's sort of like a character development thing for Coop. I feel like, first of all, this episode itself, to me, is this is a Coop heavy show. This is it already is, because he's one of the main characters, but this episode felt like it was so focused on this parallel between where he was when he was in Vegas before and where he is now emotionally. And there were just so many moments in the episode to me where they are taking the time to prove to you that Coop does have morality. And we're not just talking about in the flashback timeline. Yes, they do show that because, he refuses to kill Robert House. He'll get the thing, but he won't kill him. That moment where he helps the Congresswoman back up and he like whispers to her, keep up the fight. Those moments are sort of designed for you to see that, in the current day like scenes, he's not like world weary because of everything going on around him. He is world weary and needs a drink, and as he said, when she's like, where are you going, he's like, I'm going to get fucked up. It's because he feels guilty about everything that's happening, that he didn't expect to get any kind of connection with Lucy, and obviously there must be one, because he is feeling remorse and regret, and you can totally tell. So that's my number one. There you go.
Okay. No, that I think that's actually, very true. I felt the same way.
Yeah.
That this was very much the Coop centric episode so far of the season.
Yes.
Right? Obviously, this was Maximus's week off on vacation.
Yeah.
So, he was not present, but to pick up the slack. Yeah, don't get me wrong, Lucy's in a lot of this as well, but we're very much in the head of Coop in this episode.
Absolutely.
There is no doubt, that there's no doubt that just him being back in Vegas is bringing up a lot of memories.
Yes.
And a lot of ghosts, and and it's sort of the double whammy, because he's back in Vegas, where whatever went down, and he's reliving it. But then also the death claws are all there, and that is clearly a real button for him that gets pushed, right?
Yes.
That clearly he is got the PTSD, he's got the horror of that first encounter, which, by the way, Robert House used the title of the episode from last week's episode. I thought that was really cool.
Demon in the Snow, and I was like,
the Demon in the
Look at
Snow.
what you did, sir.
Yeah, that's right. I'm like, I hope you got some more money, because you said the episode title. This whole, I think it's like three things. It's like, one, he's reliving what happened in Vegas back in the before time. Two, the death claws are there, which is opening up a whole new, realm of trauma that I'm sure he thought would never get opened up again. Right. And three, he's also like the wheels were spinning with this idea of he might actually find his wife and daughter. Which is, like we said last week, always been the goal, but it's always been this sort of like, far in the distance, like that's like step, 8,000, and he's only been able to get to step 9, just where he knows they're out there, but no idea where they are or where to even look, exactly. Right? And he kind of talks about that a little bit when he talks about the executive vaults. Yes. To Lucy, and he said, I found one in California and it was empty, and I found one in Oregon and it was empty, and it turns out there's a whole bunch of executive vaults all over the wasteland, and every one I've ever gone to, they're empty. And then he kind of adds that line of like, but I never found one in Vegas. And so I think all of those things are running through his head during this episode, and it's all and like we had kind of hoped would happen, thought would happen, his interaction with Lucy is kind of rekindling a little bit of that humanity from the before time, and so it's all this stuff is coming up to the surface that I'm sure he has spent like 200 years repressing. Yes. Right. Absolutely. And so, it's great. And of course, they picked a great actor to do it in Walton Goggin, he's nailing it. Right. He's really bringing out, making this character a really interesting guy. I totally agree. And let's talk about the scene when it's a flashback thing, and they're at the airport. And first of all, we see young Hank, right? Yeah. And he's got the briefcase handcuffed to his wrist, and I guess we're supposed to assume that's where the cold fusion little vial is in that briefcase, right? Another interesting point, by the way, is when he comes up and he's like, "Oh, I'll take your coats," and he sort of like is trying to help them as they're getting ready to board, and he goes off, and so then Coop's like, "I'm gonna call my agent real quick," and so Barb's like, "Okay," and so then he goes on the phone, and then of course, what's her name,
Moldaver,
Moldaver is there, and they kind of have the spy set up where he calls her payphone and they're talking, but it looks like they're talking to other people. That whole thing. If you notice, when Coop's talking, he looks out and he sees Hank. And Hank is talking to two of the guys that are with Norm now.
Yeah, I clocked that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was really cool because we kind of questioned that earlier. Was like, hey, you think we'll ever see any of the Buds in the flashback stuff? And there were two of them right there. So I'm like, all right, that's cool. But anyway, the whole scene with Moldaver when the poison is like in the coin return or something, right? And it's like he's supposed to poison Robert House, and just his whole the whole attitude of the whole thing where he's like, no, you know what, this is crazy, and I'm not gonna kill this guy just because you're saying all this stuff. And he rationalizes away. We're like, look, I will steal the cold fusion back for you, but I'm not gonna kill anybody, So anyway, what did you think about just even that amount of, clearly Coop's killed people. Yeah. He's been in the war and all that stuff, but now he's like kind of putting his foot down, even though we're talking about the end of the world, right?
Yeah, it's hard to tell because I'm not sure where it's coming from, because we did get the flashback, in the last episode that showed him actually in battle. And it showed that he was just a regular guy. He wasn't like some running into battle ahead of everybody kind of hero. He was just a regular soldier, just like everybody else. He was, he's working hard. He's got equipment that's falling apart. He's scared, and I think, whether or not that attributes to him deciding, I'm done with killing people. That's not what I want to do anymore. I don't want to be known for that, because she makes the point where she's like, you've killed before. And he's like, yeah, but like
in uniform,
but it's different. Yeah. And she's like, it's a different uniform. It's all the same. And he's like, no, like there's a big difference between pretending to kill people on film and actually killing people. He seems like the, I don't want to say typical. He seems like he's having some very common responses to have been in a war, which is there's just this pushback of I don't ever want to be involved in a life or death situation like that where you're choosing whether or not someone lives or dies. You're making that choice. It just seems like something he doesn't want anything to do with ever again, which is hilarious considering what he becomes. He goes from, I don't want to kill people anymore. That's not what I want to do. I don't, because it sticks to you, it sticks to your soul. And then he becomes a bounty hunter, in this other world. And so it's like he did almost have to become a totally different person, but there's always reminders about the person he used to be, that he's closer to that person he used to be now than he has been in like 200 years. So there are a lot of triggers there. There are a lot of things like that. But it's interesting. I wonder if we'll get a more solid reasoning why he is like, I'm not just going to kill somebody because you want me. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if we'll get something more solid. If we don't, I'm fine with it just being I'm a soldier and I don't, I was a soldier, but I'm not anymore. And that was a terrible thing. And I don't ever want to do that again. I think that's a perfectly good explanation.
Yeah, and or more of along the lines of, in the war I was killing people, but they were trying to kill me, and it was, it's different. Yeah. It's a different kind of killing. It was, you know, it was, you know what I mean? It's not, this is like, I'm just going to go end someone's life who, as far as I know, doesn't know I'm coming and is waiting to meet me when I get to Vegas.
Right.
So yeah, they, like you said, they really like went out of their way to really get into Coop's head for this whole episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, good stuff.
All right. What about your number one? Let's talk about your number one there.
My number one, I just went straight to the title card.
Excellent choice.
Yeah, you know, and again, I mean, the opening scene was awesome and so on. I figured since we only got a few of these are we have to be very precise. And I know we like to talk about the title card, and I understand. I know it made your honorable mention, so it almost cracked your top five. But I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna go right ahead with it. And again, like all the title cards, this one sort of relates to what we have just watched in the teaser, you know, the opening of the show, and it's Fallout, and it's all in lights like in Vegas, and the sound effect is like a slot machine paying off.
Yes,
I think is the best way to describe it. It's kind of those very pleasing tones that Vegas has done research on to say that, yeah, that makes people want to like come in and go into the casino, hear that noise. And you know, it's clearly you get the sound of the coins falling out. And so it's just kind of showing you like the opulence and the good fortune and good times that were had in Vegas once upon a time, you know, when it was, you know, not destroyed by the apocalypse.
We didn't have death claws running around.
Yeah, you know. So anyway, yeah, that I thought it was really interesting how they that was what they decided to put in, but I thought it totally fit.
Yeah. Okay. My number two. This is again another topic that'd be more of like a it inspires a larger conversation with the two of us, but I'm so glad that they finally addressed the house thing.
God, yes.
They really needed to, especially when they like showed the guy again. I'm like, who are you? Like the guy, as soon as he stepped off the elevator, I'm like, this again? It's not the right guy. And then when he takes Coop, they go in and they just handle it right off the bat. And I love it. It was like, how long have you been impersonating him in real life? And he's like 10 years. And he's like, it's a living.
It's a living.
And he's not wrong. Yep. It is. It's a living. It's a job for him. But I made a note there that I'm glad that they revealed that it's, you know, he has a double. He's never appeared in public as Robert House, so he's able to maintain that anonymity, like be able to, you know, talk to somebody in the bathroom and not be discovered. But I saw somebody mention it, and it's absolutely true. It's very Howard Hughes-like, very eccentric, rich person kind of thing. And it's interesting for someone to out there in the interwebs to have made that Howard Hughes connection, because then I feel once we get to know more Robert House within that scene, and it's a couple of scenes, you know, we go back and forth between others, and but within these scenes with him, we get to know more about who he is and what his motivations are. And like you said, it seems like he may not be the be-all, end-all person that made all of the bad decisions about dropping bombs, et cetera, which was interesting to hear. But also, he seems very, in the nicest way I could put it, was tinfoil hat-esque. He got really sort of like lathered up talking about stuff with Coop, and gets and it doesn't help that he is also wearing like a contraption on his head, which makes him look like Doc Brown in Back to the Future.
Right. That was my comment. He's wearing the Doc Brown hat from Back to the Future. Yeah.
And it's hilarious to watch. But you get the sense that like, and I love the way he tells, he was like, you're a crazy person. And then he goes, I'm a mathematician. What does he say? A businessman and a casino owner.
And I'm
like, really? Like, and he's so like serious. He's like overly dramatic about it when there's no need to be. It's just him and Coop in the room. Nobody's listening.
Yeah.
So it's there were a lot of reveals with House. First of all, that they admitted that there was a double. That was great. He listened in to he was able to listen in to the demon moment from when he was in the war. He also was aware that Coop was listening in that meeting. Which is interesting. And the big reveal is that it appears that there might be someone else who was the bad guy. Someone else was the wizard behind the curtain for this whole thing, is the sense. And like you said, he could just be saying that to Coop to sort of get him on his side, but I don't know. Like, my instinct says that there's more wrinkles here. There's more. It's too easy for it to just be Robert House. It'd be more interesting if there was another layer to that. But yeah.
Sure.
It was nice to get all of these reveals from Robert House. I enjoyed that immensely.
Yeah. I did too. And just the fact that when they first get to the casino, and are walking around, right, and then Barb has to go talk to some Robco salesman or something, and so he's kind of on his own. And I like that he's like, I'm gonna go get a drink, and then if you notice in the closed captioning, he looks at her and he goes, Nucatini. And I'm just like, oh, of course there's a Nucatini, people.
Why wouldn't there be?
And when you think about it, it's like a Coca-Cola martini. Ugh. I don't know if that would be good or not, But so then he goes and he's walking around, right? And he's kind of initially he's following Hank because he wants to get the cold fusion. But then walking out of the elevator, we see the guy who is the double. For House. And in the sequence, like before they get there, you kind of get this like news update where it's like Galaxy News, right? And they've got the it's black and white. It's very 50s television with the globe, and the rocket ship is orbiting the globe, and it's like Galaxy News. And then it's like, while they show like a picture of the White House, and it's like, while the government twiddles its thumbs, the barons of industry are meeting in Las Vegas to, and they show like the four companies like Robco and Vault-Tec and, whatever, the two other ones, and the animated arrows all go to Vegas. And then they say, right, they said Robert House. And then they show that guy from last season. And my first thought was like, wow, they must have dug up, all that season one, like extra footage for that. Yep. Because it was stuff we only really saw that guy in like the board meeting from last year. And so then I'm like, good for that guy. He gets paid without having to do anything, because they got to pay him to use his stuff again. Right. And so, and then he gets off the elevator and I'm like, oh, awesome. They brought that guy back too. So, and the fact that guy, the Robert House guy, he walks right up to Coop.
Yep.
Off the elevator, and and Coop's kind of like got that kind of like, is he walking towards me, like that looking over his shoulder kind of thing, like is like the version of Marilyn Monroe standing behind me or something, and he walks right up to him and he leans into Coop's ear and he goes, Mr. House would like to see you. And it was just beautiful because that answered all the questions with just that little line, right? There was none of this clumsy, House going, yes, you see, Mr. Howard, I can't go out in public if they knew what I look like, so I'm having a double. They didn't have to do any of that. Yep. It was just boop. And I suppose they kind of just made sure of it, where when Coop looked at that guy, after they'd been talking for a little bit, and he like you said, he goes, so you've been doubling him for how long now? And he's like 10 years. And then the guy's just sort of like, it's a living. And he leaves, So, but anyway, I thought that was brilliant. And like I said when we were talking at the beginning of our quick thoughts there, for me, the part of the episode that I enjoyed the most is all of the stuff with Coop and House.
Yeah.
Where we really kind of crack the shell on Robert House and get into what he's all about, which he was kind of a mystery. We really didn't know what he was, other than what Moldaver had kind of painted him out to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out, at least on the surface so far, that Moldaver is incorrect. You know, that House very, very point blank in these couple of scenes, right? And you're right, they kind of jump around. It's not all one big scene. It's like little bits of it that happen. But he very, very much rejects the idea. He's like, I'm not going to drop the bombs.
Yeah.
And in fact, the missile system that he's building in Vegas, that everyone thinks, the way it was portrayed earlier, like that's what's going to start the war. He says that it's a defensive system that he's going to use these missiles are going to be used to destroy the bombs that are going to be dropped on Vegas to save Vegas.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah. And he very, very, I at least came away with the sense that he is very much trying to stop the end of the world, or at least survive it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. And he is not, it's not that he's going to make it happen. It's that he is either going to try and prevent it, or if he figures that that's not possible anymore, he's going to do everything he can to survive it and make sure that the city survives it as well, which is not the guy we were told he was.
Right.
He was, no, he's, Barb is going to give him the cold fusion, and he's going to give Vault-Tec the bombs that Vault-Tec can then use to implement their strategy to ensure market saturation, right, by destroying everything. And that's not at all what it turned out to be with him. Again, at least what we have been told, and it was great, and you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Robert House is a loon.
And the thing I forgot to mention, but when you were talking about it, he wants to do this defense system, save Vegas is what he was saying, but also he wants to live forever in a roboticized version of himself. And I'm what? So I'm very curious if what we're going to see eventually is going to be like Hank walking down a hallway and one of those like the little cops or whatever, like the guy's like, howdy. If it's going to be House saying, hello, sir, and welcome.
Well, it's been a long time, hasn't it, Coop?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Well, when he's talking to Cooper there at the beginning, right away he's giving off, to me, like the red flags were going off when he kind of tells Coop something like, "Oh, I'm not like a crazy fan of yours. It's not about any of your movies." And then Coop kind of gives him the like, really look, and then he says something like, "Yeah, you know what? Fiction is meaningless to me. I'm only interested in the real world." It's something like that, and it's just sort of like, okay, there's something seriously wrong with you if you're just like, movies, books, TV, entertainment, it's meaningless because it's not real. I'm not going to waste my time on it. Yeah, there is something not right, and that was just the tip of the iceberg. And you're right. And then all the stuff about living forever. And then when he finishes off his speech, and like we said, he's wearing the Doc Brown 1.0 helmet with the weird wires and gadgets and stuff that clearly is like feeding all the data from that big bank of computers directly into his head. I mean, he's a nutball, but he's like a billionaire nutball, And I just, my mind went to the original Batman, where if you remember when at the beginning of that, when Michael Keaton has the big party at his house and Vicky Vale and Knox are there, they're attending, and they kind of leave the party and they go in and they look at all the armor that he's got in the one room, and they're like, he must have been the king of the Wicker people and all that stuff. And then Bruce Wayne comes in and doesn't say he's Bruce, all that whole scene. And then after he leaves, Knox looks at Vale and goes, the rich, do you know why they can be weird? Because they can afford to be, and then that's what just sums it up with House, that it's like, yes, you know what? He's friggin' crazy, but he has a bajillion trillion dollars, so people are like, yes sir, Mr. House, we love it, you know. So yeah, I mean, so it was wonderful. I love it, and I agree, I love the reveal of the double. And you're right, you know, I think we had mentioned Howard Hughes about House an episode or two ago, and I think they're very much going to lean into that.
Yeah.
That concept of a person. And if people are out there and maybe you're not familiar with Howard Hughes, Leo DiCaprio made a great movie about him that you should definitely check out. But just Google him or look him up on Wikipedia, and you'll see. I mean, he was a very, very rich, successful businessman who, once he had kind of got, let's just say, unending wealth, he basically just did whatever he wanted. And some of it was crazy, engineering and development projects. He tried to build new kinds of airplanes and bigger planes, faster planes, all that. But then he also became very, very weird and a recluse, and he wouldn't go outside because he became afraid of germs. And I mean, just really interesting to read what happened to the guy, and how he kind of went a little nuts, but he had so much money he could afford to, and people were just sort of like, well, he's paying the bills, so he can do whatever he wants. So anyway, I think they're totally going to lean into that now. With what if we get more of before time House? Yes, I think we're going to see that yes, he is going to be crazy as a loon. I think that's definitely gonna be coming more. So yeah, I like your line of tinfoil hat-esque. Yes, because that just sums it up, because you're like, oh yeah. He definitely doesn't want people reading his thoughts. Nope. So he's gonna have that foil hat fully on.
Love it. All right, let's move on and let's talk about your number 2. Shall we?
All right. Well, my number 2 is actually your number 3. But
well, let's combine them. You go first.
It was, and I agree with you. It was pure gold. You're right. The theater kid in me was like, ooh, when it happened. But it was just so well done, and it's we get this little montage. And it's in the present, it's in the apocalypse, and we go back to our snake oil salesman, though, which is the guy who Thaddeus traded his power core for. If you remember, Maximus in the power armor stepped on Thaddeus's foot and smashed it to a pulp, right? I mean, all the bones were just crushed. And he was dragging his foot around the apocalypse, and he had stolen Maximus's power core from his armor, so he couldn't get out, he couldn't come after him. So he gets away, but he obviously has got to do something about the foot, and it's either going to be the Fezziwig, cut the foot off and put Bob's fake foot on, Ma June did back in season 1, right. Or he has to figure out how to medically fix it, and he comes across this guy who is like, ooh, I could treat that foot. And he gives him the power core, right? And he goes, oh, you don't see many of these anymore. And then he whips up this weird little concoction, and he gives it to him, and Thaddeus drinks it or injects it or whatever, and his foot regrows instantly. And he thinks he's cured, but of course, as we find out, it kind of turned him into a ghoul. Yep. But anyway, that guy, we come back to him. So, and I have to say, in this episode, they come back to a lot of characters from season 1, which I thought was really fun. And he's out on the road, just living life, and going from place to place. And it's playing, in the musical score, we're getting the song "Luck Be a Lady," which is hilarious, a wonderful choice for this great kind of stage show song, right? We see him, and he's walking out on the road, and then he's stopping and picking flowers, and he's sort of looking in the sky, and right in the middle of it suddenly smash cuts to him, and he's on the ground, and one of the rad roaches is on his chest and is biting him, and he's stabbing him with a little knife, going, die, 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 die. Oh, it's so funny because it's so abrupt.
It is. It's that's the part that makes it so funny, is that it goes from luck be a lady, and he's literally skipping down the road because he's so excited. I've got this fusion core. I'm heading to Vegas. I'm gonna go see my lady, and da da da. And there's all this like ooh, and he even, like you said, he picks flowers or whatever. But before he picks the flowers, it's like da 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 da. And then it shows him with the cockroach, and he's just like, die, die, die. It's just hilarious. And it's great, too, because he's like out in the open, and it's bright and sunshiny, a beautiful day. And the cockroach, when he stabs it, while he's yelling, die, 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 he stabs it, and there is like yellow, like pussy grossness, like splattered everywhere. It's disgusting.
All over him. And it's wonderful.
As soon as it's clear that he did it, he killed the rad roach, then it just as quickly smash cuts to him going down the road again, finding some flowers to pick, and
the song picks right up where it cut off. It was a really wonderful montage with the visual editing and the sound editing. It's just hilarious, and I mean, how could you not laugh out loud, right?
And I, obviously Steve and I are, we're theater kids, and we're theater nerds, but for me personally, I stage manage a huge production of Guys and Dolls back in college.
Guys and
Dolls. And I am so connected to that music. And as soon as it started, and I was doing what I did every night of the show, I was singing the chorus, the men part, and I was like doing the background parts from
doing the jazzy
come on, maybe
hands
roll
and
the dice,
right?
roll the dice. Coming up. And I was just like watching TV. I'm like, yes, I love this song. It was great. It was great because it totally put me in I had a huge grin on my face for the whole scene. It's ridiculous. That character is amazing. The actor who plays him is just so great. It's so perfectly crafted because it harkens back to like the snake oil salesmen we've seen portrayed in like old westerns and stuff like that. So it's literally like someone who would appear in a Cooper Howard movie, and he exists in real life. He has created this persona for himself, and it's just hilarious. And then for that intercut with the die die die, and then to go right back to like da, 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 and it was genius. It was genius. Can't say enough.
So, yeah, I agree. It's just really good fun, laugh out loud moment there. Just and you're right when you get that like drone shot above looking down at him, and the bug is on him, and he's stabbing it, and I mean it's just leaking this like yellow pussy blood, whatever fluid, and it's like I mean he was covered in it. It was all over the place, and the fact that it was a bright day made it even more like shiny yellow. I mean, it was wonderful. It really was. And then just as quickly as it was there, it was gone. And he's back to the it was wonderful. And then of course to finish it off, he gets to Vegas and he goes and he like sits down at this like outdoor like taco place, or at least what used to be an outdoor taco place, and there's this big robot at the table, and he's like, hello, my dear, I'm back. And at first you don't know who or what he's talking to, but then when it reveals it's this robot, and I'm not quite sure what was going to happen, but
part of me wanted that scene to go on because I was so intrigued and grossed out at the same time that I was like,
too.
And here's the thing. Is it a natural progression in a society of regular folks that the next step after you've created a robot to do all sorts of things is to create one that could conceivably have sex?
The sex bot. Yeah, I mean we have those now. I mean it's not it's not like it's something that no one has ever thought of up to this point.
The unsettling part of that scene, because there's so much, the unsettling part of that scene is I don't think that's that robot's purpose.
No,
that is not a sex slave robot.
Right.
That is a robot who has a domestic purpose, and he has some sort of strange, like, this is my love. Like,
Yeah.
oh, look at the looky-loos over there, saying that to Hank, like,
Yeah.
like this was some scene in a romantic restaurant and Hank was watching, and literally the robot is like, speaking like this, and I am a domestic, dot, 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 and that's it. It's so weird. Yeah. It's so weird.
It was. I'm with you. It's like you wanted a little bit more just to figure out what was, like at first I thought like, well, maybe like he's going to gamble because he's in Vegas, right? And so he's got this fusion, this power core, it's worth something. So he's going back to like, maybe that's like the blackjack bot that he played or whatever, but then the way he's talking to it is not your blackjack dealer. I mean, it's, this is clearly like, hello, my dear, I'm finally back.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. And then, like we said, Hank shows up and it's so great because he's like, oh, a looky-loo. He's like, well, why don't you go over there and watch from behind the bushes like a good pervert should? And Hank is just sort of like, and then he like clocks him with like a crowbar, just knocks him silly. Right. Yep. And then when he comes to, he's in the secret Vault-Tec, facility, and his hands are in the little handcuff things on the table, and he's got the little chip in the back of his head. And I thought this was great too, because Hank's like, how would you like to forget everything you've ever known and every person you've ever met, every memory you've ever had? And he goes, yes, please.
Which is such a great response. It's so great.
Oh yeah. And so then Hank like starts turning the dials on the little control unit, and I think that the director does a really good job of kind of faking us out, because the camera kind of pans back to the glass wall behind him, where in the past what that usually means is that the guy's head's going to explode and all those splatters going to hit the glass, and that's what you're waiting for, and then all of a sudden it's like, and you hear the power, it's like, and he's going, ooh, 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 and acting, and then all of a sudden it goes, bing, and it like, he doesn't blow up, and it worked, the tech worked, and Hank's like, all right, let's get this going.
I would like to think that the reason it worked is because this guy's brain was so twisted to begin with that by tampering with it, that Hank really didn't mess it up that much more. So he already had a capacity for, it was like while it was going through those little levels leading up to it, the machine was probably like, oh, yeah, that's already changed. Oh, yeah, he already has a weird thing there. Oh no, that's also strange. And so they didn't have to make a lot of changes with this guy. He was already there on the precipice of being like a robot. He obviously wants to, mate with a robot. Why not become one as well? All right, so Snake Oil Salesman stuff was was your number 2 as my number 3. So let's talk about your number 3 and pivot to something else.
All right. Well, yes. We jump back to present day, to apocalyptic Vegas, and Lucy and the Ghoul are there. They get away from the Death Claws, right? And they come into the part of Vegas that he originally wanted to go to when they ran into the Elvis ghouls. It's this place called Freeside. Yep. And when whatever way they were going to come in, he was expecting not to have the ghouls there, and that the security robots would be there. It must be a way he had gone into Vegas previously, and when he got there and that wasn't the way he was expecting it, he's like, you know what, let's go around. And of course by that point, the hooked on buff out Lucy is like, no, let's just go right in there, and then she goes in and shoots them all, right? And that whole scene happened. Well, eventually now they get away from the Death Claws and they end up there in Freeside, which is still inhabited. There's all kinds of crazy people there. I know that it's one of your honorable mentions, some of the denizens of Freeside. Yep. But when they're there, she is like still, it's the air is still very itchy and hot, and she's hungry and all that, and she keeps asking him, do you have any more drugs? And he's like, no, I don't have any more drugs, and so he gives her a bunch of caps, And he says, go find this store called Sundries, and get something called what was it called?
Doll.
It was a dick doll. That's what it was. Yeah, and that is something straight out of the game, and it is it's just like it sounds. It's a if you've got an addiction to something, you take that, and boom, magically you're cured, right? And so he's like, go take care of that, and this is you'd mentioned this earlier when he turns to leave, and she's like, what are you gonna do? And he's like, I'm gonna go get forked up.
Yep.
And goes off, and clearly he needs some time, alone time, because this is hitting him very hard, that all the emotions are coming back to the surface, all the memories are coming back to the surface, all that. So he's like, I need a drink. So anyway, she it goes to the Sunny Sundries, and on the out on the sign, it's got like a list of things and then how much they cost, and it has the Dick doll, and you can see it's like written in chalk or something, right? And a Dick doll, it was like 125 caps, but it's been crossed off, and it's now like 1,000 caps or something, And she's like, uh-oh, and she looks at like what she has, and clearly doesn't have near enough, and so she's like, oh, okay. So then she kind of walks down the street a little bit, and she comes to an alley, and she sees like the back door to Sunny Sundries, and it's open.
Yep.
And like hooked on drugs, Lucy, no problem going in and stealing something, right? The old Lucy would have been like, no, I could never do that. I'm gonna go get a job and earn enough caps to buy that, But this Lucy's like, hey, I'm gonna go in there and check it out. And so she goes in, and we kind of see some of the wares on the store, on the shelves, and she finds the Dick doll, and she takes one, which I thought was really interesting that she does. But then she looks over, and on like another shelf a little bit away is this device, and there's a little like handwritten sign, and it says Power Fist, and it had an original price, but that was crossed out, and it was like 100,000 caps or something crazy, And so she goes over, and again, drugged out Lucy is like, ooh, I'm taking that. And I think part of her thinking is that she is like, we got to go back in and just kill those death claws and get to my dad, because they're in the way. And of course he's like, I don't think so. We don't have enough weaponry, firepower to do that. So I think in her drugged mind, she's like, ooh, that Power Fist, I could use that against the death claws. And that's what I need to do. So I'm just going to take it, and it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, she's rationalizing, right? But anyway, the Power Fist straight out of the game, it looks exactly like it looks there. And as we see it in action at the end of the episode, that's exactly what it does. And again, just for the gamer nerd, that definitely made my top 5 list here, because again, it's a game-specific weapon item that they have pulled into this universe, and it is identical to how it is in the video game. And again, their streak continues. They're batting 1,000 in that everything they pull from the game is exactly as it appears in the game, and I just love it.
That's amazing. I love it. Okay. My number 4, as we move along, let's talk a little bit about Norm's scenes.
Norm. I'm worried for Norm.
I'm very worried for Norm, although I do like that they gave the little like the little gasp at the end, so
the little gasp.
So he's not dead, but that was a scary scene.
That was.
So
and
go ahead.
I think too. I just want to add too. Also, we kind of get the idea that it's. I look. I don't want to jump to any conclusions here, people, but I have seen upwards of 15 movies. And it certainly looked to me like they might have given Norm a girlfriend. I'm just going to throw it out there, okay?
Oh, yeah.
I think there was definitely some Davy Jones twinkly eye stuff going on between Norm and, the poor girl from one of the pods who they certainly had a moment. At least it seemed that way to me. But continue.
For sure. Absolutely. Which makes it that much more scary too. Well, not scary, but sad and awful what happened. So basically, and it all sort of hinges around this interaction with this girl, because he's caring for her a little bit. He recognizes that everybody else appears to have been a part of this like program, this idea, this Buds thing for quite a bit, and that this gal was kind of like a late adopter to it. She was only hired like a week before, like that scene last week where she's like, yeah, I drove over that bridge a week ago. So she's only been a Vault Tech employee for a week. So she is absolutely very different from all the other people, which is great because Norm is also very different from everybody in his vault. So I think he immediately sees like a kindred spirit, somebody who thinks differently than he does. But she catches him on his stuff, which is, she gets him to admit that, the sort of ruse that he's pulled over on that dude that sort of asserted himself as being not so much in charge, but like, Bud's like second in command, as it were. I think he's sort of overstating. He's
it's Ronnie.
But it seems like he's more like, and I'm going to use air quotes here, he's head of the interns or something like that. Like, I don't think he has any power, but I think because of his closeness to Bud, he feels like he does.
He was like his guy. So, he was the one that was in the room, so he overheard a lot of the plans.
He sure did.
He set up a lot of the meetings and the lunches and all that. Yeah. So, out of all of them, you'd think he's the guy that has the most complete idea of what the Bud's plan was.
Correct, yeah. And so it's setting up this moment of, confrontation, because, we saw it start last week with, Norm making it clear he doesn't really know what the next step is without admitting it. We know he doesn't know what the next steps are. And I think Ronnie suspects that Norm isn't a part of the, doesn't know what's going on, but he can't put his finger on it. He knows something feels off. So he's already very suspicious of Norm. So they get to the Vault Tech headquarters. This is literally like the building that we saw in flashbacks that, Barb and Bud went to on a day-to-day basis. This was their place of work. And so they get there and they're sort of, they're rooting around, and, they get the idea to try the communications room. So, Ronnie's in there and he's sort of throwing his weight around. Get this working for me and whatever. And Norm is talking with the girl because he goes to talk with her because she looks upset. She's kind of distracted. And he talks with her for a few minutes. And she's upset about the fact that, all of this is happening. She just started working a week ago. Everything, and they're inside the headquarters that in her head it was a week ago. And it was a place of work. Now it's post-apocalyptic. Everything is torn apart, and there's
skeletons.
Yeah, no kidding. So it's a very different, and it's very jarring for her, and she's very upset about it. And he, he starts talking with her, learning a little bit more about her, trying to make her feel better. And basically they come down to it where he's like, "You don't seem like you would go along with this stuff. These, it seems kind of nutty." And she admits, yeah, it does sound a little nutty. I don't know anything that was going on. I was there for such a short period of time. But then she realizes, she's like, but one of the execs, she may know because she was involved with all of the vault stuff, and it's Barb that she's talking about. And he's like, "Do you know where her office is?" So they go to Barb's office, and they go to her computer terminal, which it immediately turns on, which I call bullshit, but whatever. For the interest of storytelling, her computer terminal turns right on and boots right up after 200 years. That's perfectly fine.
You know, I can just tell you that's just the game thing.
Yeah, no.
That you know, you do that. You go everywhere you go.
Everything works.
All of these places, the terminals. Sometimes the terminals are just smashed out and they don't work at all. But if you ever find one that's complete, it always works. You can always try and hack it and get in and get data. I mean, that's just a game thing.
No.
So.
I get it. And for the interest of the storytelling, it can't be a realistic thing. He's got to be able to log into that terminal.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, exactly.
You know, so they're bonding there, and like you said, there appears to be some warm feelings happening between the two of them. And she, out of such a funny moment, she's having a hard time adjusting, and she's like, wow, I need a drink. And she, remembers where the alcohol is. Do you want one? And he's like, I've never had one. And she's like, well, that means you need to have one. So she goes off, and while she's gone, Norm continues to root around in Barb's computer. And the thing that they've heard is this FEV, which was what was the I wrote down what it actually is, but they were calling it like an economic plan of some kind, with investors, etc., that they need to find after the, it's safe to live up on the, above the vaults or whatever, that there was this whole plan. And then when he logs in, he can't find that phrase, the economic phrase. But then he just does the letters, the FEV, and it brings up something in Barb's computer. And he's just starting to read it, and it says forced evolutionary virus. And he's just reading a little bit of it, and before he can really research and look into more pages on it, Ronnie pulls the plug on the
on the terminal.
Because he heard the two of them talking, and the girl, she rightfully understands, she's like, you're not in charge. Like, you're not the person that Bud put in charge, basically. And Norm's like, how can you tell? And she's like, because you don't seem like a nutcase, and these guys are nutty. And he's like, yeah, they're so nutty, or whatever. And she's concerned. She's like, this was what they signed up for. They signed up for this whole, like, we're going to get woken up. We're going to be a part of this big plan for the future. And you guys are very important. She's like, and they're going to be upset when they find out that you have nothing to do with that. So, you need to be careful, right? And then she says that and immediately leaves and goes to get liquor. But Ronnie overheard that whole thing and understands that Norm did lie to them, that he doesn't have anything to do with Bud or whatever, and he took them out of, like, the freeze, like, under false pretenses. And so Ronnie attacks Norm with the cord that he pulled out of the computer, and he is choking him out. And in meantime, I'm like, this is why you introduce a love interest, as I was expecting the girl to come in and, like, smash something over his head, and she and Norm go running out of the building or whatever. But that's not what happens. We get him fully choking out Norm to the point where you thought he was dead, but he's really just like, he just took off his air supply and he passed out. And then when he drops on the floor, he just does, like, the last thing out of that scene. He's a little gasp of air. So we know that Norm is alive. But we know for now. But Ronnie knows, which is bad, which means Ronnie's probably going to tell all the other recruits as well. So it looks like it's just going to be Norm and maybe this girl against the world very quickly. So I'm very interested to see how this plays out in the next episode. It's very tense. I'm very worried for Norm. And I hope things go well. He's as he's stated in other episodes, he's not a fighter. He's not somebody who, like, volunteers to be at the front of a group or whatever, you know what I mean? So he's very outside his comfort zone right now, as it is. And now things are starting to get physical, and there's going to be some, fighting and things like that coming up. And I'm worried for Norm. So yeah, Norm's vault tech scenes were just really great. A lot of, like I was saying earlier, intrigue, story movement, and it makes you excited to want to watch next week's episode. So yeah, that's my number 4.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think, you know, you left out a very important part in that when they first get there, they run into Ma June.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
From the first season, right? You know, the woman who ran the store where Fezziwig was, you know, there, remember, and she got the foot and all that stuff happened. And this is where Lucy is tasked with taking him, you know, out of Philly and to get him to the NCR and to Moldaver. Yeah. And it was great just to have that character come back.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was really fun. Yeah. And also Barv was there as well. And we find out, you know, like there's like an elevator that's like clearly been like boarded up. And something is like trying to get through the barricade, and there's like blood on the wall, and you know when they're all kind of walking around, all the buds, and they're like pointing out all the corpses and going like, hey, I think that's the janitor, and oh, there's, you know, Jenny, she's still at her desk, ew, you know, and all that. And they're, you know, very immaturely walking around in this what is basically like a tomb, right? And Norm immediately sees the blood on the wall and is like, comes over there and he touches it and it's like fresh, and he's like, guys, I think we should get out of here, you know. And later on they ask Barv what's behind the barricade, and she's like, Roach Farm. And they're like, how big did they get, you know? And she's like, well, they're not big enough to take to market yet, but they will be. And you're just like, oh, yeah, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
But I thought that was really fun. That we meet her, and also Norm gets a very important piece of information, because this show, unlike let's just say, I don't know, Lost, people like talk to each other and tell them what's been going on. He finds out that Ma June met Lucy.
Yep.
And gets a little bit of idea of where Lucy is, where she was, what she was doing, you know. And of course, Ma June is like, you know, your sister's dead. I love it when she explains, like, well, we was in Philly, and then, you know, he got away from the Enclave and had to get to the NCR and away from the Brotherhood. But that's gonna be really tough because it's con territory, and he's just like, yeah, I have no idea what any of that means. Yeah, you know. And she's like, oh, yeah, I forgot you Vaulties are not really up on current events. I thought that was really funny. Yeah. But then she basically says, you know, your sister's dead, right? And he's like, you don't know my sister. And she goes, yeah, but I know the wasteland a lot better than you do, you know. But anyway, and then, yeah, you're right. The scene where they find the radio, and they're, you know, and I think at that point, Ronnie, you're right. He knew something was off about Norm, but he couldn't really, you know, I'm sure there was a little bit of, maybe this is another test. You know, maybe this is, you know, I've got to prove that I'm, you know, part of the team by, you know, not, you know, he's in charge. I got to do what he says because that's, you know, the order, the chain of command, and all that. You know what I mean? It's sort of like he knew something was off, but then when you know, he's like, Ronnie's like, well, we got to get the radios working so we can contact the investors, and Norm doesn't really have any answer for like why he would do that. You know, Ronnie's kind of like, wait a minute, you know, something more is coming together, that this guy's full of crap. Okay. But then he sees the girl and she's, you know, upset, and again, Norm, because he's Norm, he goes over and he kind of comforts her. And I think what I thought was really sweet about that scene is that I get the sense that like this girl like finally is hitting her what is going on. Yes. Because she's like, even if my parents survived the bombs, they've been dead for a long time. And she's like, everybody I've ever known has been dead for a long time. And then she talks about her cat, right? And he's like, well, what was its name? And she's like, Puppy. and she's like, that's funny, right? And he's like, I guess, but maybe not right now. Yeah, you know. But again, you know, Norm is being there for her and letting her experiencing it. And again, they definitely have this, like, you know, they're gonna get together kind of thing, right? Or you're like, oh.
And I just looked it up really quick because I wanted to stop calling her that girl. Claudia is her character
Claudia's
name.
her name?
And
Yeah.
I just couldn't remember it. But I feel like we're gonna, hopefully the episode next week starts with Claudia coming in and,
and saving
Well,
him.
she was gonna go get liquor, so I want her to come
Right.
in with like a bottle of whiskey and crack it over Ronnie's head.
Over Ronnie's head. Yeah, I think that very well could happen. Yeah,
That would be delightful.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm pretty sure that the term that he types into Barb's terminal is Future Enterprise Ventures.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Because that's what they were, Buds were, I think, were officially called.
Right.
And you're right, and he types that in, and then it does the searching, the database, and then it says no direct results found. And then it says like possible matches, and it had FEV.
Mm-hmm.
And he types that in, and that's when you get that forced evolutionary virus.
Yep.
And you get like maybe 2-3 seconds where they show the screen, and you can kind of read a little of it, and then it goes blank because Ronnie has overheard them talking before she leaves to get the liquor, and she calls him point blank and goes, "You're not really Bud's successor, are you?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, what gave me away?" And then like you said, she goes, "Well, you're not nuts like they all are." Yeah. So and unfortunately for him, Ronnie is in the other room dropping eaves and listening.
Yep.
And so then it's like, well, now Ronnie's gonna kill you, because now it's not a test, it's not some part of Bud's crazy plan that he wasn't aware of. It's just, this is some weird outsider that is messing everything up.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I'm right with you. I'm very worried for Norm. I think that he is not in a great position, but you're right. I think Claudia is going to bring back, I'm sure, a very, very old bottle of scotch. And unfortunately, they're not going to get to drink it because she's going to smash it on him or do something with it that will drive Ronnie away and hopefully save him, because I do not want Norm to check out this early. Yes. Obviously. So
yes.
But yeah, that was a super fun scene too, and also it kind of, again, a little bit more plot, a little bit more development, and I hope that they're going to get the directional point of, you need to go to Vegas.
Yes, I hope so too.
And whether that's Ronnie knowing that and passing that on, or if they find some file or something, that tips them off that they have to go to Vegas, because the threads of the stories here have to all converge at some point, right? We're gonna have a bit where they're all gonna come together. At least I hope they will.
I agree. All right. All right. That was my number 4. Let's talk about your number 4 there.
My number 4 goes back to Lucy in the store, where I just said she steals the power fish, she steals the Addictol, and while she's doing that, the guy who runs the store kind of catches her, and the store's not open at this point, the main door is closed and not ready for business, and this guy, and it's hilarious because this guy comes down the stairs, and you see right away that the guy, you just see his feet, and his shoes don't fit his feet. They're like regular shoes, but he's kind of wearing them like Crocs or sandals, where they're just the front part of his foot is stuck in them. And you also notice that his pants are shorts in a weird way, and then when we finally see him, you can see he has a white undershirt, and it only covers about half of his big belly, and he has this very, very tight work shirt on top of it that has only got one button because it's way too small. It's clearly this guy's wearing somebody else's clothes, right? I mean, that's what you come with. So a person who's much smaller than he is clothes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And the guy's like, "What are you doing here?" And she's like, "Oh, you know what? I can't. I must have come in the wrong door." And then she looks up, and there's this big portrait on the wall of Sonny, and it's his store. It's Sonny's Sundries is what the name of the store is, and it's this guy, and he's wearing basically the outfit that this guy, the guy in the room, is wearing, but it's a different guy. And and like the work shirt has Sonny on the patch on the on the chest, and he has a little ball cap, and it says Sonny on the ball cap and stuff. And she sees that, and she looks at him, and it's clear he's wearing that outfit, right? But it's not that guy. And so then she goes, "Are you Sonny?" and then that guy goes, "He left town." And then she goes, oh, and the other thing too is that before he catches her, she sees there's like a garbage can, and in the garbage can is this dead guy who's been stuffed in it, and he's doesn't have any clothes, he's naked, and he's all bloody, and he's stuffed into a garbage can, so he's horribly killed. And so then when he catches her and she goes, "Are you Sonny?" and he goes, "No, he left town." And then she's like, "Okay, so he's not in that trash can behind me?"
Yeah.
I thought that was really funny. And then he's like, "No, that guy tried to hold this place up." And so she's like, "So he did it naked?" And then he's like, "Lots of people rob stores naked. It's a totally normal
so
thing."
Defensive. It's so obvious he did that. And so you have
yeah.
that moment where you're picturing it. You're like, and he's a heavier guy. So you picture him coming in, heavier guy, completely naked, and he just overwhelms this poor Sonny guy, and it's because he's trying to rob the store, and he kills him.
Yeah. And he kills him, and then he gets the idea of like, I want to run the store and I want to make money fast. So he raises the prices of everything to crazy amounts. Like we said, like the Addictol was 125 caps for a little inhaler of Addictol, and he had it up to 1,000. And the Power Fist was like 100,000. I mean, like everything he's quintupled, raised the rates, the prices, and so he then starts to take a gun off the wall, and she ends up shooting him. She's like, "Sir, don't make me maim you." And then she shoots him, and then she comes over and he hits the ground, and she's like talking to him like, "I'm really sorry about that." And then she looks, and he's dead because she killed him. And I mean, that like hits her very hard that she, killed that dude. And then this woman like enters the store, just someone from the street wants to buy something, and she sees Lucy, and she goes, "Oh, who are you?" And Lucy has this like completely lost look on her face, and she goes, "I don't know." And it was a funny scene at the beginning with the not Sunny guy and all that. I mean, how can you not laugh at it? Just how ridiculous it is. But then it turns very serious for Lucy, and it's almost like a come to Jesus moment maybe for her of like, what am I becoming?
Yeah.
What look at what's happening to me. And all the people that have told her along the way of this journey that the more you're out here in the wasteland, the more it's going to affect you. And she's always like, "No, it's not."
I'll still be the same old Lucy.
Yeah, but now she's like has direct evidence that maybe it is, and then because she killed that dude, and she didn't blink when she killed that dude, and so yeah. And anyway, I really like that scene. I thought it was really really fun and well done. What did you think?
Funny, first of all, because the fact that the whole scene itself in that store is just hilarious, because her going in there with it being, because she goes to the front door and it's like closed for business, and she sees the open door in the back. Lucy wouldn't have done that, earlier. She would have been like knocking on the door and saying, "I see that you're closed, but I'm a nice person and I have bottle caps and I really just need to buy something." But no, new Lucy, changed Lucy was like, "Hey, that back door is open." So it doesn't matter that she doesn't have enough bottle caps, because she's going to steal those things anyway. She's got the Power Fist in a bag. She's gonna just leave with it, which she does anyway. But it's like, she's got the Addictol, she's got the Power Fist, because the last thing that Coop says that she says to Coop. He's like, yeah, go to this Sunny Sundries and get this Addictol and da-da-da. And she's like Little Miss Sunshine, and she's like, yeah, and maybe I'll find something that'll fight those death claws. So that was her intention when she saw those power fists. She was like, I'll get that power fist, and we can use that, and maybe that will help us get through the death claws so we can go, like, because they were disagreeing earlier about, you know, should we continue on? Do we fight the death claws, or do we wait and do something different? So she gets that and is like, you know, this is just the next thing I need to do. But she's stealing it. She literally, you know, crouches down behind. She gets the bag. She puts it in. So it's like you said, it's a really great scene showing, you know, the thing that we talked about a couple episodes ago, that we, you know, sort of already mentioned a couple of times, which is, you know, as the season wears on, you know, we were wondering how much like the Ghoul would Lucy become, and how much like Lucy would the Ghoul become. You know, right. You know, things, you know, attributes of each other would start rubbing off on each other. And this is clearly Lucy, you know, under the influence of the Ghoul and under the influence of the Wasteland, you know, where you just need to do what you got to do to get what you need to, you know, there is really no morality. It's you do what you got to do. And so but the fact that she recognizes it, so she struggled with it, and Coop is doing exactly the same thing at exactly the same time. He's back at the Wrangler. He's, you know, before, you know, we don't see the scene where the salesman shows up, but he's already in the room when she gets back. So he's at the same time that she's struggling, he is as well. He's struggling with, I don't want to do this, but I have to do this, you know, and she's like, I don't want to kill this person, but I have to get these things and get out of here, because that's the next step. I can't delay anymore. I've got to find my dad. And so she, you know, those decisions are made on the snap, you know, she does it, but she you know, there's guilt afterwards. She doesn't know who she is anymore, you know, and she's right. Really honest when she says that.
Yeah. She is literally and figuratively lost.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Great television show, by the way. Moving on, let's talk my final one, my number 5, which I just wanted to talk the final scene, which actually happens right after Lucy dispatches fake Sunny, as it were. And, you know, everyone has watched this episode, so they know the scene and they know all of everything that happens in it and the betrayal that happens. But I feel like the way, the direction that was given to Walton Goggins for the scene and the way it was written, there's such care and sensitivity that's given to Coop in this final scene. Because he's more Coop than he is Ghoul in this scene. And as is shown, because as he's going through all of this like turmoil, it's intercutting with visuals from the flashback scenes. So, you know, he's taking a shot of whiskey in the current times, and it's flashing with him after his scene with House, when he's in the elevator and he pours the liquor on his face, pretty much. He barely gets it in his mouth. Man. And so it's like a very similar, you know, frame of mind, and he is remembering that night. He's remembering it. Well, he's literally like right down the street from right where it actually happened. So he's, you know, been triggered by all of these events, and he's seeing himself doing the exact same thing again, where he's gonna have to make some sort of crazy sacrifice to help his family, but he's struggling with it, you know. And in this case, back then it was different, because it was more of a moral struggle of, you know, I don't want to kill people anymore. And it turns out that House, he may not even be the guy that's in charge. There might be somebody else. So it would be stupid to kill him, because he's not the guy. It seems like he might not be the guy. But there's all these other things that are still in motion. And so, he exits that elevator and is like reeling from all of it. And in the current times, he has to do this thing. He has to betray Lucy in order to save his family. And he doesn't want to do it, but he's got to do it. And he's feeling guilt, and he's feeling shame, and he's feeling more like the Cooper Howard of 200 years ago than he ever has. And you know, and I talked about it with my first point, that this was set up as a Coop episode, and all of these moments that show his morality, and then this is the final moment of that. He is so tender and caring to Lucy. He practically holds her hair while she's throwing up outside the window. He pulled a chair over so that she could sit. This is the guy that sliced off her finger last season just to prove a point, you know? And it's like he's almost disgusted by himself in this scene. He's disgusted by what he has to do. But it also, the worst part about it is that doesn't matter how disgusted he is, he's still just going to do what he's got to do. He doesn't want to, but he's got to. So, yeah, and his line he uses, I think, is amazing. He says, Lucy, I brought you here to bargain with. This is the bargain. You know, so he knew he was going to have to use her as a bargaining chip, and he just didn't know how it would play out. But it played out. You know, the salesman came to him. He sought him out. And so it's just a fantastic final scene. You know, there's more that happens after that, you know, with her and the Power Fist and all that other stuff. But the stuff with Coop, you know, is just amazing. And her angry reaction afterwards and the push out the window, it's just amazing. So, yeah. Final scene, fantastic.
Well, not just that, but Coop gives a whole new definition to the term pole dancing.
I know. And he doesn't want to dance too hard because he's just going to slide down that pole further.
Oh boy, that, you know, and you have to remember, you know, he can't really die, so he's just kind of stuck.
Yeah, that was my thought as soon as I saw him impaled, as I was like, okay, this isn't going to kill him, but it's, first of all, it's gonna make it hard for him to like chase after Lucy and Hank.
Yeah.
So he's taken out for a little bit, and now it's just a matter of like, you know, in my head, as soon as the episode was over, I was like, okay, so he can either try and pull himself up like he's, you know, climbing a rope, or he can have somebody, hey, can you cut down this pole for me? And then go from there.
Well, and he's definitely going to need a stim pack.
Oh yeah, he might need more than one. This might be a double stim pack situation. The impaling of your entire body through a pole, it kind of warrants some stim pack situation happening here.
Some serious stim pack action.
Oh, yeah. So, there we go.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. You know, again, very powerful scene. You know, with the way he played it, just how, you know, he was like doing something that he clearly was very uncomfortable doing. You know, and I mean, all of this actually was my honorable mention. You know, at the end there, what was, you know, he, you know, she. We should say like the snake oil salesman guy shows up right in the awesome short sleeve white shirt and tie,
yes,
which I thought was really funny, and he kind of you know, basically says, you know, that Hank is offering a deal to the ghoul, to Coop, of, if you send my daughter back to the vault, I will make sure that your wife and daughter are safe. And he kind of threatens him, right, that they're frozen. He knows where they are, and, you know, if he were to terminate their you know, freezing process, they probably would die instantly, you know, and they wouldn't be revived. They just would pass away, you know, threatening, right? Saying, if you don't do what I'm saying, I'm going to kill them, you know. And that's the bargain, is that you take my daughter back so she's safe. And what does he say? Like, you know, he's got some things in motion, and it's best if she sits it all out in the vault where she'll be protected, right?
Yeah.
ominous, right? Does that mean more bombs are going to be dropped? I mean, who knows, but the ghoul like accepts it and says, yeah, that's what we're going to do. And I mean, Lucy is, kind of like, what? And what are you talking about? And what does she say? Like, you're not actually considering this, and what does he say? Like, family is a forked up thing.
Yeah.
Or something, right? And then he shoots her with the tranq dart, and she like looks down at it, and as the drugs are starting to affect her, which first of all you're like, she just got off drugs, right? And now you're just drugging her up again. Way to go, man.
Yeah.
But she looks at him and she goes, we were actually beginning to get along. Yeah. And then she kind of falls to the ground, and then she looks up at him and she goes, I thought we were friends. And it's like, it like breaks your heart, because you're like, she really did think that, and I think, and when she goes, we were actually beginning to get along, he goes, yeah, he agrees with her, and so it's like, yeah, you know what, they were, like we'd mentioned last week, that it was no longer this like forced partnership. It's like, you know what, I think they do actually kind of, I don't want to say they're besties, but they like, it's not like I'm only here because I have to be here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, very, very, very powerful scene. And of course, then she knocks him out with the power fist. And then we get this little final moment where Hank himself comes in and looks at her on the floor, and he's like, my little sugar bomb, and she kind of, clearly she can like has very hard time focusing at this point because she's all tranked up, but she kind of looks at him and then she just kind of passes out. So my question is, do you think now that he's going to send her back to the vault, or do you think he's going to take her into his little lair?
I think he's going to take her with him. I think.
Yeah, I do too.
I think it makes more sense. He can observe her. He can keep an eye on what's going on with her. And then it's great because then the storyline wise and plot wise, it doesn't make sense to go all the way back there. Plus, the whole deal was based off of the ghoul doing it, and he's a little bit busy right now.
He's incapacitated.
Yeah, he's busy pole dancing. So I think he just makes the choice to be like, okay, well, to make this, work better, I'm just going to take her with me. Nobody will be able to get to her because I've already said, I'm down underground in a bunker or whatever. You're not going to be able to get to me. So he feels pretty secure. And I think that's what's going to happen. He's going to take her with.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I think he wouldn't have shown up there if he wasn't going to grab her. And you're right. Once the ghoul was, literally, on a stick, the whole idea of someone taking her back to the vault is no longer a conceivable option. So, why not? She's out cold. He can get her back to, his place. He can put her in a locked room, whatever. He's going to, like you said, keep an eye on her, right? Know that she's safe because he loves her because, it's his daughter, even though I'm not so sure she has the same return feelings at this point. But yeah, I do too. I think that's what we're going to see, is that she's going to be there, and now the ghoul's going to be, Maximus is probably going to find the ghoul, and they're going to then team up because Max is like, well, we have to go get Lucy because it's the right thing to do, and the ghoul, because his heart has grown 3 sizes already, is going to go, yeah, you're right, we got to go do that, so. But yeah, anyway, I love that. Wonderful choice for you to make one of your points, because it was a really powerful scene.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, let's talk your number 5. Fantastic quote.
Yeah. It's just part of the house coup before time sequence where and this is where we're kind of getting into the nuts and bolts of what House is all about.
Yeah.
And he's explaining, like you said, I'm a businessman, an entrepreneur, and a casino owner, and blah blah blah, all that stuff. And we should point out, like, he's in the penthouse, and he's got this like massive computer display with all these camera, monitors that he's watching, and it's got all of this stuff that's clearly, doing crunching numbers and stuff. And he hits a little button, and this like secret panel slides open, and you see he's got the whole cold fusion set up. Yep. In there. He just needs the little glowy thing to put in there to make it work, and all that stuff is there, and he's sort of explaining to Coop what's going on and how, and Coop is like, Coop is like very much calling him out, like, my wife's gonna end the war, and he's like, correct, and then he's like, and you're gonna give him the bombs, and he's like, oh no, that's not gonna, and he's like checking him and saying what he's, no, that's right, no, that's wrong, and all of this data is kind of coming out, all this expo about why he's doing things. And he talks about how he has computers crunch the numbers over and over and over again to kind of try and predict future events. And it actually came up with a date for the end of the world. Yeah. And he's like, he says what it is. It's like, April 14th or something like that. And he goes, does that date have any significance to you? And Coop's like, kind of has this weird like side eye look, and he goes, that's my daughter's birthday. And the whole reason he's telling this is he's trying to tell Coop that, like, look, you're intertwined in the end of the world somehow. Yeah. We're all in this. It's all there. Where it's inescapable. It's all destiny. We're all going to be here. And just to prove it, I'll tell you, this is what the number came up with. And then he said, you weren't supposed to come to Vegas. It was just supposed to be Barb that came here. But the fact that as soon as you bought the ticket, the computers then cranked out a new end of the world date, and it's a month earlier than what it said. So, your being here is accelerating the end of the world, and Coop is not really buying it at all. And House basically says, look, I want to survive, and then he tells him, he goes, as you see, I live my life by one simple maxim. And then Coop very, jumps in and goes, the house always wins, right? Yeah. And House goes, and it does. I'm making sure of it. I'm using every single piece of technology at my disposal. And then he kind of stops and he goes, but what if I'm not the house? What if someone else is? And I love that line. I think that is so great because, imagine being like the guy where you think you're the guy. And you're the smartest guy in the room, and you figured all this stuff out, and you have all the angles, and you have everything covered. And then after you're at that peak where you're like, yep, there's no way anybody can sneak up on me, then you suddenly start to think, uh-oh, what if there's somebody more clever than me that is actually looking down? It's just like his whole world order is in question. Yep. Right. And and I love it. And I think it's really cool in that they, this guy that we up till now we have been painted in very broad strokes as the bad guy. Right. He's the villain, right? That's that we've only gotten one point of view, and that's Moldaver's point of view about who and what he is. And then when he finally starts talking, is he weird? Yeah. Is he, is he a little nutty? Yeah. But is he the, the proverbial monster at the end of this book? Maybe not, because like we said, who was the guy in the shadows watching that board meeting in season 1?
Don't know. We really don't know.
I know. And I, like I said, I love that line. I love that whole scene with Coop and House. I thought was just wonderful. Those two actors just going back and forth, and you got to hand it to wait a minute. There we go. To the actor, and I'm blanking on his name. It's Derek. No, it's Justin Theroux. Justin Theroux. Yeah. Justin Theroux is Robert House. In that he's really, I think, has created a really interesting character as Robert House, and he's not just the one-note villain that I think we all were expecting him to be, right. And that now in my mind I'm like, maybe he's gonna end up allying with Coop in some weird way. Maybe he gives Coop the cold fusion. You know what I mean? It's like there's so many possibilities of how this could go now that weren't necessarily there just because of the way that scene played out. And I thought it was really great. Yeah,
I agree. Justin Theroux is fantastic. He's not just a great actor, but he's also a writer. He's written some pretty good stuff over the years. Probably he's most well known for he was the lead in the HBO series The Leftovers, and he's just fantastic. He's a great guy, great actor. And he's a really good addition to this cast, and he adds a little bit with those layers that we don't really know what to expect from the Robert House, zone. We don't know what's happening in that guy's mind. And like you said, he could just be saying that. He could be the guy behind the curtain, and he's just saying that to placate Coop. So we shall see how it all plays out.
It's so good. So good.
Under my sort of honorable mentions, I had included the title card, which we already talked about. I was absolutely tickled by, as soon as they started walking through the free zone in Vegas, there was a guy that was wearing like a sandwich board sign that says "Beat me up for caps," and Lucy's like, no, thank you. She's so polite to a fault about every damn thing she runs into, and just her reaction, no, thank you.
No, thank you. Now I have to ask you. The sign says "Beat me up," and then it has the number 4 caps. Now, do you think that means it costs 4 caps and you get to beat him up, or do you think he's just saying "Beat me up for caps"? Like go ahead. If you give me a couple caps, I'll let you beat me up.
I think.
What do you think?
I think he's saying you can beat me up. If you give me a couple of caps, I'll let you beat me up.
Okay, so it's not 4 is the number. It's just he's just to save space wrote the number 4.
Yeah,
okay,
that's my take.
Because I looked at that scene a couple times and I'm like, I'm not sure if I give him 2 caps, will he say you need to give me 2 more, or is he gonna say go ahead, pal, punch away?
I know, crazy. So I thought that was hilarious. And then in that moment that we talked about, where Norm and the rest of the Buds go into the Vault-Tec building, come across the Roach farm, and run into Ma June and Barv. He has this moment with June, and she tells him all about, Lucy and whatever, and he's like, you underestimate my sister, whatever. And then she has like a cute moment where she's like, listen, you guys, like, don't touch the roaches, they're mine. But, if you need to grab some supplies before you head back to your vault, feel free to use whatever you need. And then she turns and walks away and goes, good luck, dipshits.
Good luck, dipshits.
I just was like, that says everything you need to know about Ma June. That she's, she's trying to be as friendly and nice as she can, but she's just so prickly. It's great. So, yeah, those were my little mentions.
I like too that Barb is like, we're not going to kill him or something, and she's like, I'm trying to be a better person, Barb.
Which I loved.
And then I also thought it was really cool that they kind of gave us the resolution with Philly, in that the reason why she's in Vegas is that the Brotherhood like burned Philly to the ground when they showed up, right? Which just kind of gives you an idea of how ruthless the wasteland can be. That the reason why she kind of has set up shop here is that her old place of business, it gone.
Yeah, she had to come up with something new.
Yeah. But anyway, that actor is so great. The way she's like, good luck, dipshits. It was so funny.
She's great. She's great.
Yes, and my honorable mentions we already talked about. It was Lucy with that last line of like, we were actually getting along, and I thought we were friends. Yeah. So like I said, great episode. I thought it, for an hour long, it moved really well, and had some very funny parts, had some really moving parts, and I absolutely loved the Robert House stuff. Please give me another helping of that soon.
I agree. So we hit our...
Oh,
no, go ahead.
You know what? We should just... Also, and I'm curious too, the very end of the episode in the flashbacky stuff...
Oh, yeah.
Coop looks at Barb and goes, we need to talk.
Yes. What a great way to end the episode.
Oh, no kidding. You're like, no, don't end now.
Yeah. I thought that was great, because you don't... You kind of think you know where it's going, but you don't know. Like, he's fresh off of that meeting with House, so... And he said some things about Barb that are like, she's, the other people are crazy, but your wife actually might be involved with this stuff, but with someone at a higher level. Like, he's really being very like cagey about it, so you don't know. And it's going to be interesting to see what that talk with Barb turns out to be. Ooh.
Oh yeah. And House, like, definitely he dismisses Vault-Tec. They couldn't possibly be the guys that are responsible for this. But your wife, she's someone to watch out
Yeah,
for.
she might be the one person at that knows what she's doing out of there.
Yes. So yeah, I just wanted to add that because I thought that was a really cool way for that flashbacky thing to end too. So yeah. Good episode though. Overall.
So good,
really
so good, and like I was saying at the beginning, it leads right into the next one. We can't wait for that one to drop on Wednesday for us to be able to.
And it's only 2 days away.
I know, it's so great. All right, so we hit all of our points. We did it, and we're gonna go ahead, folks, and take a quick break. And when we come back, we're gonna discuss the listener feedback we received and what's coming up on the podcast.
All right, so everyone please stick around, like not on a pole, but like just stick around. We'll be right back.
Now there's about 20 of them out there.
What will we do?
Don't worry, we're safe in here. They'll never get in.
Why is it that in every zombie story, people always think that their safe haven is invulnerable?
I know. It's like, hello, the walkers are totally gonna get in. You better get ready for it.
No!
Diane, get behind me. No, it's not stopping.
Do something, Jack!
And another thing, how come nobody in a zombie story has ever seen a zombie story?
Do you know how much time in human life would be saved if just one person in the group was up on the genre?
What do we do?
Aim for the head.
What?
Aim for the head.
You heard them. Aim for the head.
Quick, Diane, I think we should try and fix the barricades.
I think we should listen to them.
Now, that's the first good idea they've had all episode.
I still don't think they're gonna make it.
Aim for the Head, a horror apocalypse entertainment podcast. Join hosts Diana and Steve as they recap and discuss the best of horror, sci-fi, fantasy, and apocalyptic entertainment. Aim for the Head, available wherever you listen to podcasts. Find us on Instagram and Blue Sky.
Hi, I'm Ross Marquand, and you're listening to the Aim for the Head podcast with Diana and Steve. And remember, always aim for the head, because body shots just don't work.
Hey there, everybody. We're back. We're going to go ahead and jump right into our listener feedback. And yeah, so, oh my God, we literally just spoke about it 2 seconds ago. You going first or am I going first?
You're going first.
It's the senior brain, people. I'm telling you, it's fantastic.
It's very cold here. Okay.
It is. All I can think about is how chilly it is, and of course, I can't run my space heater while we're recording because it makes noise. People.
It does.
So the sacrifices that we are both making for you. Steve can't run his heaters, and I can't run my heater, and it is. Look it up for Chicago area for Monday the 19th. My computer is literally saying 1 degree Fahrenheit right now.
According at O'Hare right now, it's 9. According to that, yes. So it's
feels warm.
Unbelievably cold. There's no doubt.
Yeah, it's been brutal today. So that being said, moving right along to our bits of listener feedback we received for this episode. First up, we have our constant commenter, Erica Price, who left us her thoughts via the Facebook. Hello, Erica.
Hey, Erica.
She writes in and says, what's worse than 1 Deathclaw? 4 Deathclaws! My subtitles can't keep up with Lucy's frantic, drug-fueled banter here, and seeing the ghoul in this state of panic has me rolling. I wonder when was the last time he saw himself in the mirror. Interesting thought. I had the same thought when he was being reflected there. Mm-hmm. Well, this is very interesting. Mr. House knew of the plot. Now what is Coop going to do? Norm and his buds have made it to Vegas. I think that's incorrect. I think they're
in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I think they're still in Los Angeles because I think since that's a building that Barb worked at.
Yes.
But, I get it. It feels like they've made it really far. But they might eventually end up in Vegas.
I hope. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. I'm so glad to see this part of the story move forward. Agreed. Mm-hmm. I need to craft a weapon line cracked me up. That was amazing. Yep. I need to craft a weapon.
Well, and he grabs the fan.
It's great. Yeah. So good. Ma June. Lucy's powers of deduction are on point here at Sunny's. Surely no one else would suspect this dude isn't actually Sunny, and she uses a winky emoji. Because seriously, the clothing, like, it's literally buttoned like right across the neck and it's open all the way for the rest of it. The hat is like comically small for his head.
Yep.
He looks like a grown man wearing children's clothes. That's basically, hilarious. Okay, continuing on, she says, the Wrangler Casino, title of the episode. Cool. So Mr. House knows Coop was listening in on Barb. It looks like Hank was successful with his mind control after all. Hopefully this isn't it for Norm and the ghoul. So much happened in this episode. I'm loving the pace of this season. Until next week, bottoms up. And she has like a martini emoji.
Is it a Nucatini?
Maybe it's a Nucatini, where you too can have a martini that's made with
Nuka-Cola. Yep. Isn't that like just it's like a rum and Coke or a vodka and Coke, a gin and Coke? I mean, what are we talking about here?
I don't know. The idea of gin with Coke is disgusting.
Oh, I know.
Because I like gin, but in it's very specific circumstances. And gin doesn't mix with a lot of other liquors very well.
No.
Other than, like, tonic and some juices and things like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, gin and tonics, every once in a while I'll get in a mood where, like, yeah, gin and tonic's good, but I definitely got to put a little lime juice in there just to give it a little something, so, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But, it's not something that, so let's hope vodka martini.
Yes.
With, instead of, vermouth, it has Coca-Cola.
Oh, I don't, Nuka-Cola, but I don't know.
Nuka-Cola,
I don't know, man.
Yeah. Listen, brown martini. Anyway, Erica, thank you for your thoughts as usual. And we look forward to hearing from you next week.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Very, very, very cool feedback. We love it.
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
So moving on, our second piece of feedback we got comes from our pal, Karen, don't call me Lauren Cohen. And this also came via the Facebook. And she goes, oh, man, this episode just had too much gross vomit for me.
Sorry.
That's interesting that neither of us chose as one of our points the projectile vomiting that Lucy did several times.
Yes.
And my favorite was the second time when she goes out the window, and after she does it, you hear someone down on the street go, "Hey, watch it!"
Yes.
Anyway, she goes on to say, "I do poop, pee, and blood. No vomit. That's my husband's job." I'm not sure what the arrangement is in your house, but okay, whatever works. She goes, I love the snake oil salesman. So funny on his trip to New Vegas. Absolutely. 100% agree. The music, him skipping around, then killing the cockroach, die, to flirting with the robot and telling Hank to hide in the bushes like a normal pervert. He's great. Then she goes on to say, from the forking toilet, which is what Coop says when he finally meets the real Robert House. That was fun. Lots of fun in this episode, but then sad at the end. I like that they were just starting to get along and the ghoul was opening up to Lucy, but then, family is a forked up thing. I'm glad Norm didn't die. So are we. But because for a minute there, I really thought it was curtains. Yep. I did too. And you're right. The little bit of him going there kind of gives us a little hope. He goes, I'm sure I missed a bunch. And then she says, cheers. So thank you so much, Karen. That's awesome. And I think we are right in agreement with you on just about everything you said.
Agreed. Absolutely. Thanks for writing in, though. We look forward to getting some feedback next week as well. Hopefully.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right. So coming up next week, which we just were speaking of, next week, title of the episode is The Other Player.
Ooh.
So that certainly sounds like they're teasing that we might find out, if not the person, maybe just a little more information on who this person behind the curtain is, this unnamed third party that has been mentioned. Let's hope that actually happens, because you saw what happened before. We actually saw the demon in the snow, but nobody said the words "the demon in the snow" until the next episode. So maybe something's gonna happen, and maybe at the end of the episode we'll see another person, and then in the next episode they'll be like, look, it's the
other player. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's some possibilities there. I do.
Yeah. So I'm excited for next week. Like we were talking about, it's this show is doing such a great job of like they're ramping up, but I like the progression. The progression each week has been great because there hasn't really been an episode that's like, oh my God, they shot that out of the park. They're saving sort of that until they get to like the final episode or the right before the final episode, as is usually the case for most episodic television. It's not the finale, it's the one right before the finale.
Right.
That's usually the best. But I am enjoying the pace because they're really sort of evenly sort of doling it out each week. We're sort of ramping up just a scotch more, and then the next week we just a little more and a little more and a little more, and it's really sort of reaching. And I at this point it's crazy because I really can't predict what that final moment will be for season 2. I'm curious to see what it'll be, but I really can't figure out right now where they're gonna end up when we get to the end of episode 8.
I agree. I don't know. It's so many possibilities, right? And I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited.
I am too, and I can't believe that we're already talking about it. It's 3 more episodes and we're done with the season again already.
Oh my gosh! Where does the time go?
I know. Something else to chat about. I saw a little blurb this week that they are greenlighting, Prime Video greenlit a Fallout spin-off show that's actually going to be a reality series. Listen to this. It's a spin-off called Fallout Shelter, which is a 10-episode reality competition show inspired by the video game adaptation. Studio Lambert, the production company that's been behind The Traitors and Squid Game The Challenge, is spearheading the reality show with Kilter Films and Bethesda Game Studios, which are involved in the actual show of Fallout. So on Fallout Shelter, contestants will take part in various challenges to prove their ingenuity and resilience as they compete for a cash prize. The series will take place in Vault-Tech's bomb-proof vaults and immerse the players in the world in ways they never could have imagined. They will face numerous dilemmas and have to make difficult decisions that will impact their future in the game. So it sounds if you've watched any of the Squid Game challenge, it's very immersive, a lot like the Squid Game show was. Like everybody sleeps in like that communal area. You're sort of like inside this like gaming facility or whatever. And it sounds like that's what the plan will be with this Fallout game, reality game. It'll be, people locked inside this vault for like however many weeks that they're filming this competition show, and then when it's done they get let out, I hope.
Yeah, I don't know, right? You'd like to think so.
I hope so, unless maybe one of the players is like a Chet that's gonna unlock it for them.
Maybe.
I don't know.
What I want to know is, are they gonna have the rad roaches there?
Oh God.
They'll be like, die.
Oh my God, disgusting. Maybe the scorpions will show up?
Maybe. I mean, this is death claws. Who knows? I like it. I like it.
Yeah. So that was the only sort of show-related news I saw this week. Anything else you think we should chat about before we wrap this up?
Something did pop up on my feed that I normally do not pay much attention to this stuff because I don't want to be spoiled, but this was very bizarre to me, and that is it was leaked today or announced today that for Dead City Season 3, Emily Kinney is going to be brought back as Beth Green. So, Maggie's sister is going to be in Dead City Season 3 somehow. I don't know how this is going to work, but that came across the feed, and if you Google it, it's been reported by several news type websites. So I guessing it's true. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work, but all right, we'll have to see. So Emily Kenny, going to be joining the cast of Walking Dead, Dead City season 3 coming up here this summer.
You gotta figure it's gotta be a flashback,
doesn't
right?
it? It has to be, right? It has to be like Maggie will, maybe Maggie will get like cold cocked and then she'll be concussed and she'll, start seeing Beth walking around. I don't know, right?
Yeah, maybe.
But
like a current, like what Beth would look like now, because I'm not sure you could really flash back to when Beth was.
Yeah, she died. I mean, it was like over 10 years ago. It was like 2013 or 14 when that character left that show. So yeah, I mean it's been a long. I don't know. It's like I said, it just came across and I thought, wow, that's interesting, but really weird. So we'll have to see how that does. Is that going to make the show better, or is that just going to make the show weirder? I don't know. I'm again, like I said before, for the spin-offs, as a completist and wanting to sort of see the whole Walking Dead universe through, I will of course be there for Dead City. And I am, the way they ended it, and I am really curious to see how they sort of continue on. But I, plot-wise, am more excited about Daryl, which is how it was for the previous seasons for those two shows as well. Oh yeah.
I just think it's more gripping, the stuff going on with Daryl. But I'm still curious to see how they. My thing for Dead City is I want to see if they make any effort to make Herschel's story match up to the graphic novels.
Yeah.
Because that would be really interesting to see if they try and, not go exact, but maybe try and, head toward that path, like head down that area to sort of show, oh, this could be something that happened, because we never see, they do have a little bit of leeway because we never see in the graphic novels how Herschel ends up the way he does.
Right.
So it'd be interesting to see if they use this as a way to explain how he gets there, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I still hold out a little bit of hope for that. It's not my favorite of the spin-offs. It's no Fear the Walking Dead though, man.
It is. It's not. But again, remember, I believe they got a new showrunner for this season. So there will be maybe a different, obviously with this announcement, they're changing things up a little bit. So yeah, I at this point, I'd like, let's see what it is.
Yeah, a different feel, maybe a different different focus,
different tone. Yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah. So there's the ability for all kinds of change happening there. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. It could all be positive. We have no way of knowing.
I wouldn't say I'm optimistic. At this point, I'm curious.
Yes, that's a really great way to put it. Yeah. So, yeah, that sounds very interesting. That'd be great to see Emily Kinney again.
Absolutely.
There's been lots of people that have been brought back for different flashbacks and, little, I'm going crazy and now I'm seeing, look at what happened when Rick was, dying from being stabbed with the rebar there.
Yeah.
He had this whole experience, and he saw Herschel and all these other people that had died.
Right.
And, so they had these moments where they did bring people back, and we haven't seen Emily Kinney, and I think it'll be refreshing to see her.
I remember when Kudlitz came back. Mm-hmm. So it's totally possible. Yeah, so like I said, I'm curious to see it. Just how is it going to work? What are they going to do? Is it going to be flashback? Is it going to be a ghost? Something's hallucinating? We'll have to see. But anyway, it showed up today. The announcement came out today. So I thought that's weird. So anyway, wanted to mention it.
Excellent. Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. So that's going to do it for us this week, folks. We look forward to chatting with you next week about episode 6, The Other Player, for our continuing coverage of Fallout Season 2. But until then, as always, I'm Diana.
And I'm Steve.
Don't forget to always aim for the head.
Because the body shots, they just don't work.
To send us an email, write us at aimfortheheadpodcast@gmail.com. And our Twitter handle is @AFTH Podcast. Pictures and video are always welcome at our Instagram account, Aim for the Head Podcast, all one word. But the best way to keep in touch with us is to just like our Facebook page to get all of our updates in your feed.
We have just the little chemical packets that they got the iron oxide, and you take them out of the wrapper and you kind of shake them up, and then maybe about 5 minutes later they start giving off heat for about 6-8 hours. So
yeah, it is pretty cool. Those are good because they do last.
They do. You put a couple of those in your pants and you are a happy person all day.
In your pants?
Sure. Got to keep all the vital stuff warm.
Absolutely. Can't have frozen vitals, that's for sure.
And that is your B-roll.